Hello everybody, it's Claudia. I'm excited you're here with me today because we're talking to a good friend of mine and the creator of the skincare line Kindry, which I talked about in a previous video, Robin McDonald. Robin is also known in Los Angeles as the esthetician to the stars, which she is very humble about. However, she has been in the skincare and beauty industry for over 30 years, so her knowledge of skincare is just immense. So of course, we're talking about skincare, we're talking about embracing aging, nutrition, and a bunch of other stuff. Without further ado, let's talk to Robin.
Wow.
Hello, Robin. Thank you so much for being here.
How do you do? It's so good to see you. Thank you, everybody,
You too.
for tuning in. And I'm just overjoyed to be here. So thank you so much. You're such
so
an
happy to have you.
inspiration.
Thank you, Robin. So are you. Let's get right into it. So
All
you
right.
have worked in the beauty industry for how long now? How many decades?
Are you really going to do that to me? I have about 30 solid years as an esthetician now. So,
okay.
yeah.
So working in the beauty industry and with celebrities who always want the newest and the greatest, I know you're retired now from working with clients, but what was your approach to skincare?
Well, first of all, working with celebrities, they're a little bit of a unique breed. And I think that there's an added responsibility there when you have these A-listers in the palm of your hands, literally. And especially if they're working at the time, whatever you do is going to show up on camera. So there is a little bit of an added responsibility, not to say that they're any more important than other client, but you have to stay current. People want immediate fixes. They want to see results right away. Living in Los Angeles, the mindset out here is really very celebrity driven. Therefore, it's very beauty driven, and the resources are abundant. I feel that my job as an esthetician was to always prepare the skin. For instance, if I had a client that was going to get a laser treatment or injections or surgery, if the skin itself is not healthy, if it doesn't have that foundation, it's almost like pumping up a balloon beyond its capacity. So I was always more focused on the health of the skin. And I would, really lead my clients into treatments that were more holistic and naturally based. Vitamins, minerals, things like hyaluronic acid, apple stem cell, cactus oil, my favorite, as you know. So that was really my approach. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of pressure to go for what's ever happening at the time. And, for instance, a vampire facial was very popular at the time. I'm not a big fan. I don't really go in for the transfer of blood like that. But I really felt that my job was to prepare the skin for whatever people were going to do to compromise it. If by the grace of God they don't care about any of that, then they just end up with really good healthy skin and a fantastic regime that's plant-based, vitamin and mineral based.
Okay, so no crazy peels or anything like that. You just really worked on the skin integrity.
I did years ago, we used to use a lot of peels in the room. And then people started really sort of going over to their dermatologist for things like that. And I would be more, I think, promoted to send someone to a doctor for any sort of really deep peeling. One of the questions that I get asked, and I still get asked all the time, even though I'm not in the room anymore, is what is the most non-invasive medical procedure that yields the most positive results? And I would say that is that Fraxel.
Okay.
And Fraxel is the fraxelated deep penetrating.
I've had Fraxel,
Yeah, have you? Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Depending on how deep you go, the recovery can be 3 days or 3 weeks, as you probably know. And it does stimulate collagen and resurface at the same time. And I would much rather see someone try something like that than jump right into a surgical procedure.
Great. Now, how living, you said you live in Los Angeles, you live in
Yeah.
a very beauty and superficially oriented culture,
Yeah.
and we're all getting older. How do you personally, I know that your approach to aging is very much embracing aging. So tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about how you deal with getting older in such a beauty oriented culture.
Well, personally, going in from my 50s into my 60s, I became single, and I really did start to feel resentment toward growing older. And I started chasing, I knew that surgery wasn't for me, so I was chasing everything, peels, injections, and it is exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's exhausting. What I learned in that decade, I'm 65 now, so I've had a
You
few
look
years
incredible.
of, oh, thank you, gosh. But what I've learned is that you cannot use beauty as a Band-Aid. And when I started to work on myself from within, I started to nurture myself inside. That, coupled with seriously putting my botanical formulas to work on my skin, I started to feel better about myself. And oh, what a surprise, I started to look better, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I've always said that, the best looking person in the room is the happiest and probably the healthiest, So yeah, that was really my trajectory into my holistic studies and finding a more natural way to approach beauty and for myself,
So learning to love yourself and embracing
Yeah,
what is.
100%. And I think that, women of a certain age, and I love that expression, because a certain age means great age to me.
Mhm.
We have a responsibility to light the path for young women and men who are coming up, who might be facing challenges and, against these societal expectations of, you need to look a certain way, you need to weigh a certain amount in order to be successful and popular and all of that. So I carry that responsibility very seriously. It's very close
Yeah.
to my heart.
Like you said, it is exhausting. I mean, I've done it with the weighing a certain way, when I
Yep.
was anorexic. It's exhausting, and it's
Yeah.
that drive for perfectionism. It's never enough. And where do you end? And
Your
once you
your
learn
story is
to,
incredible. Yeah.
thank you. But once you learn to actually love the person that you see in the mirror, it makes life a lot easier
Yes. I
rather
mean,
than looking for every single flaw.
the spectrum of beauty is huge, and I have said that being in Los Angeles and having clients who can afford to go anywhere to get anything they want, sometimes I'll, compare them to the beauty of someone who makes 100% of what they have by following a more natural, holistic, wellness-oriented lifestyle and learning to love themselves and being lit from within. That's true
Yeah.
beauty.
So tell us, I want to hear a little bit more about the spiritual path that you found after chasing that perfectionism. How
the
did you
beauty
get,
ball, keeping
yeah,
the beauty ball in the air.
how did you get there? How did you let it drop and just get to the point where you just,
I became very sad, and I had to reach out for help. And a friend of mine is an incredible spiritual counselor, and he really sort of grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and pulled me up out of that fetal position that I was in the middle of my kitchen, at 2:00 in the morning. And I know that sounds heavy, but I'm sure a lot
no,
of
but I
us
get it. Yeah.
have been there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for me, but I had to go to that place, before the door opened, or before I reached up and opened that door to ask for help. And no one should ever feel embarrassed or, be hard on themselves for reaching out. It can save your life.
Yeah.
That and yoga. I'm Pretty consistent with yoga. I know you are the yogi, the high priestess of yoga.
But again, it's not about perfectionism. It's about doing it because you love yourself, not
Exactly.
to be perfect.
And then for my 61st birthday, I bought myself a pair of tap shoes and a rehearsal floor. So I haven't started yet, but I'm going to go on YouTube and take a couple classes. Anything that brings you joy. If you have to dig deep to find that, just do the work and find out what it is and go for it.
Do you meditate?
I do meditate. That is something that I am very, very consistent with. And again, it's paramount to, function for me. And you meditate.
Yeah, it has helped
daily.
me a ton with those thoughts of wanting to be to realize it's just noise that comes and goes. I don't have to pay attention to it.
It's just bad weather.
Yeah,
It'll
pass.
Weather
Exactly.
the storm, and do whatever you can to neutralize those feelings of inadequacy and insecurity.
Yeah. Now, how much impact do you think nutrition has on the health of our skin, our well-being in general?
It's again, another paramount thing that you have to embrace is good nutrition. I believe in a gut healthy diet, a plant-based diet, and probiotics I think are really important. Fresh, healthy food is easier on the body to digest, as opposed to meat products and dairy. And vegetables are full of antioxidants that neutralize free radicals in your body. And that also, as look, you're a glowing example of veganism. And everybody's on their own journey, but I try to promote a vegan lifestyle wherever I can. Some people don't enjoy that very much, the little jabs you give people here and there. But, if you're complaining about certain things and that are directly a result of your diet, one for sure way of sorting that out would be to go on a plant-based, gut healthy. Do you ever read anything on the gut health? A ton, yeah. And I know
Did
for
me,
help
when I went
you in your life? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have chronic dermatitis, and when I went plant-based and stayed away from inflammatory foods, that disappeared without me even thinking that would happen. The two really weren't related, but within 2 weeks of going plant-based and eliminating inflammatory foods, it disappeared.
It's a miracle.
Knock on wood, it hasn't returned, and it's been over 3 years. So, yeah.
Inflammation is a key word there.
Yeah.
Inflammatory foods will manifest themselves as inflammation on the skin as well most of the time.
Which causes aging.
Yes.
Right? Inflammation causes aging. So we're so worried about all those lines and wrinkles.
We earned what we have. But if we can stave them off, just to feel better about ourselves, who cares?
I like your story. I didn't know this part about you, that you chased that beauty ball for 10 years and hit rock bottom. I actually really like that story. I've been there, not necessarily with the beauty ball, but again, with perfectionism. So I can totally relate and know what it took to get out of there is meditation, learning to love myself.
Yeah.
And to me, nutrition is part of that, is loving myself, feeding my body what it actually needs and recognizes. Looking at food as nourishment.
It's really worth investigating. If you're not a vegan or a vegetarian, look into it, because you will find that within, as you said, 2 weeks of just taking meat out, even if it's just you go plant-based a few days a week, you'll see a huge difference.
Reduce, exactly. Now, I talked about your skincare line, which I absolutely love and have been using on and off for 5 years. What made you decide, total switch in subject now here, but actually not, because it's all related. What made you decide to create your own skincare line?
Well, I will speak very personally, and I have to say that revealing my story to you, I really was inspired by your video because I've never talked about that publicly. So I want to thank you for that. It feels good to talk about that and get that out. And as far as Kindry goes, and I've said, and it's true, that I had so many clients coming in with overworked skin, and I wanted to find something that was of high performance, but that was also cruelty-free, vegan, sustainable, kind to the skin, kind to the earth, and no animals get hurt. But I want to say that also taking a departure from working for someone else, I wanted to feel empowered. I wanted to empower myself. And I also loved skincare. I was always mixing oils and mixing this and that. Even as a kid, I loved to experiment with other, beauty products at that time. But when I started to go into essential oils, I had, oils all over my house. I was making bath oils and face oils and everything. So then I got the brilliant idea to bring my formulas into the room. And when they started to work and people started to respond to them, I decided, wow, this would be a great way for me to have something of my own. And to be honest, I didn't go into Kindry full force till I was 60. I just want to make sure that women, anyone who's watching this, if you have an idea, embrace it. Yield the sword that's in your hand. Use the resources that you have, and don't feel that it's too late to start something new. I think that that's super important. So that's another thing that I don't talk about that much, and I really should, that I wanted to have something that I had full control of and that I could call my own. And that if things go wrong, you only have yourself to blame or yourself to congratulate. But I have to say that it is a great feeling. I dream of Kindry. I can't wait to get up in the morning and start throwing things together. That's my favorite thing to do. So there's that. But in that, I wanted to make sure that whatever I was putting together really did yield high results, and that my formulas were based on my experience as an esthetician and not because something smelled good. Although
they do smell
I love
good,
that. I love that too. That's important because you want people to be promoted to reach for something that they know is going to make them feel, uplifted. And aromatherapy is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
So
what do you...
How am I doing? I'm not all over the place, am I?
No, you're doing awesome. I'm fascinated by you because I've known you, but there's so many things I don't know about you.
Yeah.
So it's really lovely to hear
Well,
all those
I look
things.
up to you so much. So
Thank you so
I'm
much.
really,
Likewise.
really happy to be here and meet you and talk to you and everything.
Now, since we're talking about Kindry, and I know your products are very high performance, and that's something that I so appreciate, that you have very few ingredients in there, but they are powerhouses, and you leave all the bad stuff out. So what do you think, in your opinion, what should we look for in skincare?
Well, the most important thing is to find something that works for you. And the way that I find, when people are taking their finger and going around the inside of the jar, then you know that that's a product that works for you. I'm putting the horse before the cart, because what you really want to do is check your labels first. I know that you are a proponent of the EWG.org for resources. I think that it's almost today more important to look at what not to buy. And the EWG has a wonderful, easy to access list of things that are parabens and phthalates and toxic ingredients that you can almost print out and carry with you when you go not to the store right now, but to the internet to look for something. But I just want to light on two things that I think are super important. One is petroleum. A lot of products will have petroleum as their number one ingredient. And, as you know, that's a synthetic. Petroleum is a cheap cosmetic filler that gives you the superficial feeling that you're being moisturized. But because the molecules in petroleum aren't small enough to penetrate the skin, it's going to evaporate off the skin. It's going to take your essential oils with it. So try to stay away from petroleum, lanolin, beeswax, all of those things. As I said, I consider them to be cosmetic fillers that you really don't need. Shea butter, vitamin E, even vegetable oils would be a better way to go. And the other
because
thing,
they actually get absorbed into the skin and nourish
they're
your
more
skin.
readily absorbed. It depends on the formula. If the skin can really absorb and utilize, ingredients. But shea butter, for instance, will sit on the surface of the skin in its natural state. And I think I told you I'm coming up with an old school cold cream for makeup removal. And that is a shea butter based product.
Okay.
But you're going to be removing it anyway. I use it to break down impurities and oils and makeup on the surface of the skin, but you're just removing it. So a cleanser is something that you don't have to be so focused on a product being absorbed into the epidermis. The other thing, though, that's really super important is tetrasodium Edta. These are formaldehyde-releasing preservatives, and they're very prevalent. You have to really look. If you see anything that says EDTA, tetra is a buzzword, to look for. And there's a myriad of toxic ingredients that are present in a lot of over-the-counter stuff right now. You just have to be aware. Some of the things I can't even pronounce now,
Yeah. Well, and companies put those in the products because they're great preservatives. I mean, having taken an anatomy class where everything is preserved in formaldehyde, we know this lasts forever.
And it's cheap.
But it's not something you want. It's cheap, but it is cancer-causing, and you don't want it on your skin on a daily basis.
Yeah, and those things dilute the efficacy of whatever you're trying to do with your product, So
that's another good point. Yeah. It's not just that some of the products or some of the ingredients are harmful, but they also affect the integrity of your product.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions, email me at info@kindry.com. And
you are great at getting back. I mean, when I first looked at Kindry, before I knew you, I emailed you and you got right back to me, which is something that I really appreciated because a lot of companies don't do that. So that's, I think,
I'll be up till 4 a.m. answering emails. I love it. I love to talk about skincare and I love to help people. So I always tell my customers, don't be shy. If you have anything to ask, please just send it. And it's fun.
Good. This was really awesome. I've learned so much more about you, about skincare. Is there anything you want to add?
Thank you. I would just like to add to everyone, be kind to yourself. These are challenging times right now. But if you are at home, use the time that you have to investigate things like meditation and yoga. YouTube has great classes. Claudia Glows is one of my favorite destinations on the internet.
Thank you.
And love yourself.
In general, not just in this pandemic, but in general.
Yeah.
Love yourself, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look in the mirror and tell yourself something you would tell your best friend.
Right.
Not your worst enemy.
Go to your inner child and embrace that inner child. And my spiritual counselor tells me to, whenever, you're feeling inadequate or whatever, you talk to the inner child and say, hey, I've got this. I got this. I'm the adult. I've got this. And I love that.
Yeah. So let's end on that note. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to say, you were kind enough to give my viewers a discount for Kindry. I'm going to put it in the description box. It's very sweet of you.
Right. Oh, we should add with the quote. I just read this quote the other day. It's not how old you are, it's how you are old.
I love that.
I love that too.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you. I'm so honored to see you and oops, there we go. and reach out to your peeps. You have a beautiful tribe of people. So
I do.
thank you.
I'm very lucky. Thank you so much, Robin. I'll talk
Okay,
to you soon.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.